How do we teach resilience to young people?
That's a good question. And I've been thinking about that a lot with my own kids now. And there's some good ways of doing that. There's several ways. The first is teaching them that failure is okay. It's okay to make mistakes. And it's how you learn from those mistakes and how you bounce back. And so that's the first one that I would highlight, because traditionally, and see, it's from the whole growth mindset with Carol Dweck and everything with this holistic wealth mindset as well, which is, like we all have setbacks and things will happen. It's about learning to have a certain set of tools in your toolbox to deal with those. And those tools enable resilience. And with kids, learning from failure, mistakes, even just from flunking a test at school, is a good way of building that kind of, well, okay, I did bad on this one. I didn't quite get the mark I wanted, but how do I do better next time? How do I set myself up to do better next time? And all of that builds their resilience muscles. And another thing that I'd want to highlight is, in the book, I mention about relationships, and I feel that's key. And I feel like with kids, teaching them resilience, part of that is teaching about the importance of relationships around us, and not just for, going out or hanging out, but seeing those relationships as a potential source that we can tap into in our time of need. And going further than that is, in the book, I talk about homogeneous and heterogeneous relationships. And I did that in the Harvard course. And Malcolm Gladwell wrote an article in the New Yorker that was very, very good, where he mentioned heterogeneous ties versus homogeneous. And, with kids, their network is just so loosely based on, like those close around them. And it's often based on, commonality with what we like or what we like to do. But teaching them that diverse perspectives are good, and that loose ties, which are the heterogeneous ties, those who might not be that close to you are also very important, because they bring different perspectives to your life. And they might be different in terms of where they live and what they look like and what they do, but they're so important for us to build resilience, because you know what? Their stories impact us. Their methods of dealing with problems impact us. And so those loose ties, the heterogeneous ties, become even more important sometimes than the homogeneous ties. The homogeneous ties tend to be like family, close friends that are like inner circle, and they have the same networks as us. In the book, I talk about the loose ties, and there was a study done by a sociologist saying that to get, like for employment prospects, it was mostly our loose ties. It's mostly our loose ties that we get jobs through, our business opportunities. And that's why networking becomes so important. So for kids, I think explaining these things in a very basic way is very good. And the other thing that I would point to, and I know people don't think about this every day, but also in the book, I talk about the economist Hirschman, Albert O. Hirschman, who was an economist. And he spoke about moral resources versus heterogeneous resources. And I know we can't, explain, we'd have to break that down for kids, but basically what it means are, in society, we really emphasize the economic resources. We do talk about, the money and what we don't have and what will run out. And so Hirschman's thesis was the economic resources are the ones that will run out. Money can run out. You can lose all your wealth. But the moral resources, like your learning and your knowledge, collaboration, relationships, they never run out. And those resources enable resilience more than the economic resources can ever do. And like I think even in my experience, like after my husband died, for instance, like we had put things in place financially. We had the life insurance and all that, but none of that mattered to me at that point. And those are some of the economic resources I talk about in the book. And then here are the moral resources on the other side, which are the relationships, both the loose ties and the homogeneous ties, the ones closest to you and the ones not so close to you, and they both play such a huge role in getting you back on track. People showed up, some of those loose ties, for instance, showed up at my doorstep with food or, took the kids out. And so for building resilience, I think that we have a role to play in teaching children all of that and kind of building that in. And one of the last things I want to talk about, because I think this is important for building resilience, is when we talk about the concept of power. And I speak about that in chapter 2 in the book a lot. How we grow up thinking that power is for those at the top. We think about that, well, yeah, I don't have any power because, like, I don't know, I just, those at the top have the power and it's great. But it's funny that in the book I talk about the power to achieve purpose, and like Martin Luther King reinforcing that and saying that, our power is rooted in our ability to achieve purpose. And I think when you go through an adversity like a life-altering setback, you think, I don't know if I have the power to do this. I don't know if I have the power to transform and to make this into something that's nothing, that's not there. And I think we need to redefine that concept of power for kids and letting them know that it's not just something that, someone holds at the top and they can't access, but it's something that I can create within myself to achieve the life I want. And that concept can give so much hope and so much resilience in times of need, because I think we're equipped with that power already. It's just channeling it, knowing how to use it, and even just knowing that really I have the ability to achieve purpose in my life. And so for kids, for resilience, I think it's, building resilience with them starts from really socializing in a different way and thinking about those core relationships, thinking about power and what they can achieve, what they can do themselves, and thinking about failure and setbacks as something that I'm going to learn from. And so embracing that mindset that, it doesn't define me. I can move forward. And here's how I can do that in my own way. And I have the power to do that. And when I did my course at Harvard too, like my professor kept saying to me, so it's because we had to do a project. He kept saying to me, is this a power with project or no? Because then we realized that power too is vested in power with, it's relational. And so the power I have to effect change, or the power I have to build what I want, is relational. I might not have these resources, but you might have them. And how can we build power together? And so, yeah. And so whether we're in the work world, or, you're a CEO in a business dealing with a change and in a turbulent time, it's thinking about how can we work together to access and to grow that power that we have. And so, like I've been thinking about, holistic wealth for kids and for teens and what that would look like. And I really think those are the concepts from the book that I love to translate in a way that's very, very useful to kids, to have them really think differently about relationships and people and the power they have within themselves to effect change and to grow from setbacks.